Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Remey Smith.
And I'm Hannah Adley.
And today we will be talking about the battle of the sexes.
He's kidding, but we will be talking about Deborah Tannen's theory, Genderlect. Genderlect is defined as a term suggesting that masculine and feminine styles of discourse are best viewed as two distinct cultural dialects.
In conversation, women have a desire for connection, while men have a desire for status. Women try to cultivate a sense that they are in touch, whereas men work hard to preserve their independence and try to reach positions of hierarchy.
Women strive to be liked, while men strive to be respected.
According to Genderlect, men and women are different when it comes to public and private speaking.
It's no secret, women talk a lot, way more than men in private conversation. In fact, the average man speaks 7,000 words per day, whereas the average woman speaks 20,000 words per day. That is almost triple the amount.
I thought Hannah just talked too much, but it turns out it's science.
Whatever. In a public setting, men speak way more than women.
Touché.
Now we will turn it over to Brittany to tell us about men and women in regards to telling a story and listening.
Thank you, Hannah. The theory of genderlect styles is in line with quite a few other communication theories in the belief that stories people tell reveal a lot about them. Men tend to use storytelling to maintain or raise their status through the use of either jokes or stories in which they are the hero. Women, on the other hand, tend to tell stories that serve to strengthen the relationships around them, or whether through telling the stories of others or telling the stories about themselves where they did something wrong or foolish. And on the other end of the story being told, listeners who are female tend to hold eye contact, nod their head, and indicate agreement or involvement in the story being told or the explanation being given through utterances such as yeah or uh-huh. Men tend to not want to show that they're listening due to the feeling that they're putting themselves in the submissive position in the conversation by agreeing or listening actively. When that listener wants to interrupt, women will usually do so to show support, agreement, or to finish the sentence being said in a show of understanding and feeling the same way. This is called cooperative overlap and is usually a tactic that men find annoying and can perceive it as a power move or an attempt to take over the conversation, which can cause a lot of irritation in cross-gender conversation. So those differences are definitely something that one should be aware of. And now I'll send it back to Remey and Hannah in the studio.
Thank you, Brittany.
Now let's talk about asking questions. When I was a child, I clearly remember my father never asking for directions, regardless of how lost we were. I thought that he was just being stubborn, but as it turns out, that's a common thing with men.
According to Tannen, men don't ask for that kind of help. Self-sufficiency is important to be a man.
So essentially, men are stubborn.
Maybe so. Women ask questions to establish a connection with one another. It creates a sense of community. This explains why Hannah has to stop and talk to everyone everywhere we go.
I have to get my 20,000 words in.
Hey, we communicate most by what we don't say.
How so?
We will turn this over to Grant, and he will tell us all about nonverbal communication and the speech communities of men and women.
Thank you, Remey. Like Remey and Hannah have been explaining, men and women are different. But interestingly enough, Tannen doesn't believe the same connection, status, distinction exists in the way men and women communicate nonverbally. The way in which men and women communicate go back to their childhood. From a young age, kids are given certain rules for communication. For boys, they are expected to communicate to assert their ideas, opinions, and identity, use talk to solve problems or develop a strategy, and speak in ways that attract attention to themselves. And women are taught to use communication to create and maintain relationships, involve others in conversations and respond to their ideas, and show sensitivity to others and to their relationships. The way in which we communicate can be traced back to our childhood, like I said, and scholars refer to the segregated groups to which boys and girls belong as speech communities. Tannen concluded that boys and girls are two different species, and that certainly matches up with the idea that there are distinct speech communities. If Tannen is right, all conversations between men and women is best understood as cross-cultural communications, meaning genderlect can be taught like any foreign language. Back to you, Remey.
Thanks, Grant. That was very insightful.
I think that about sums up our genderlect theory.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm Remey.
And I'm Hannah.
And we will see you next time.